Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the MMA Corner Prediction Show. It's tonight we give you our thoughts, breakdowns, and predictions for UFC Fight Night 47, Bader versus Saint Preux. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Battle Bomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power. BattleBomb.com. Check them out. Audio for tonight's episode is brought to you by Soul. Power, clarity, comfort. Soul Electronics. Get you some. I'm your host for the evening, Josh Davis, alongside my co-host, co-editor at the MMAcorner.com, Jason Shelkey. Do that again so the people can see you. There we go. The camera was still on me.
Oh, well, dude, the camera needs to be on me. But before we start, Josh, I got to say, it is great to be back. I know it's been about a month since I've been gone. Thanks to my wonderful internet provider that thinks 5 weeks is an acceptable amount of time to transfer service. Okay, never mind. But anyway, I just want to say it's great to be back on here. I miss hanging out with you guys. I miss doing this prediction show. Miss being all up in these fights. And we got some good ones coming up Saturday night. So I'm pumped. I'm psyched.
Yeah, I'm stoked too, because actually we've been off for a while with the cancellation of the UFC pay-per-view event. Bellator Season 11 not starting until the first weekend of September. We've been off, so it is good to be back. It's good to give you our thoughts and predictions again. And you know, I got to be honest, UFC Fight Night 47. Top to bottom, it's a solid card. I'm certainly looking forward to it. But as I was studying this card and getting ready to do the show, man, they should have called this coming off the loss card, because so many of these fighters are coming off 1, 2 losses, which is something I love, and I'll tell you why. Because when you have 2 straight losses, you're fighting for your job. And when people are fighting for their job, they tend to fight a little bit better. They tend to fight a little bit harder. So it does certainly make for some exciting fights. But we have a lot of guys on this card. They're coming off a loss. But again, top to bottom, solid card, free on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2. The preliminary card starts at 8 Eastern, 6 in the Midwest, which is where I'm at. 5 o'clock if you're on the West Coast. Fox Sports 2. Main card, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. Fox Sports 1. So make sure you change the channel. Very important. Otherwise, you'll miss all the action. Now, with that being said, Shelkey, give us your thoughts on the card.
You know, I mean, I think you summed it up best. It's the night of the comeback. So many of these fighters on this card are coming off of losses. I think one of the only fighters on the card that's coming off a great string of victories is a man that we're going to be seeing in the main event, Saint Preux. He's won, his last 5 and 9 out of his last 10. So he's really trying to, I think, he's really trying to make a statement in the division, saying that, this is my time. I think that he's finally starting to match rise as a fighter. And I think that at this point of his career, fighting against Bader makes perfect sense, because Bader's a great, he, regardless of, what type of success or lack of success he's had recently, he's still a staple in the light heavyweight division. He's still a threat on any given night. And, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things. I honestly think there's a lot of people on this card that are going to be fighting for their jobs. And so, I think that's going to light a fire underneath their asses, and I think we're going to see an exciting night of fights.
Yeah, I have to agree. Or we're going to see a lot of people get cut come Monday. So I myself think that we're going to see exciting fights. But again, you never know how these things play out. That's why it's a fight. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Opening up the main card, we have Robbie Peralta versus Thiago Tavares. Shelkey, start us off.
I like Tavares in this fight. As we've seen in the past, he is tremendous on the ground. He averages over, about right around 4 takedowns a fight. He has great takedown defense. He has over half his victories by submission. Now, if you look at Robbie Peralta, he's got that one-punch knockout power. He can knock a fool out, anytime. And he has ridiculous power in the 145-pound division. But in order for him to be able to utilize that knockout power, he has to keep the fight on, on the feet. And with a grappler as good as Thiago Tavares, I don't think he's going to be able to do that. I mean, Peralta always has that puncher's chance, because all the fights start staying on the feet. Hate to use a cliche. So Peralta's going to have his chance right there to get Tavares in trouble and land that knockout punch he's going to need. But I think Tavares, he's a veteran. He has 27, 28 fights, somewhere right around there. And I think that he knows what he needs to do to win this fight. And I think he's going to do what he needs to do to win this fight. I think he's going to take it. I think he's going to get a submission around the second round.
Yeah, it certainly could be. First off, this will be his 25th fight for his career. I think this is a fight that he should win. While I love Peralta, I think Robbie's definitely got some talent. He's definitely someone that we need to watch. I just don't think he's fought the level of competition that Thiago Tavares has. Not only has he not fought the level of competition, he's not fought the level of competition in the UFC. I think the fact that Thiago has that veteran experience against real tough guys. He's coming off a great submission victory over Justin Salas. I like Thiago Tavares. I too think that he'll find a way to get that submission victory. Whether it's the second or third round, I don't know. But again, I have to agree with you. I think Thiago Tavares is the better grappler. I think he has more ways to win this fight. However, if Robbie tests his chin, I think Thiago's going to sleep. But I don't think Thiago will allow that to happen. I think he'll close the distance. I think he'll turn this into a grappling match. And I think he'll work out the submission. With that being said, let's move right along. Up next, we have Sean Jordan against Jack May. I'm intrigued by this fight. Jordan, like I said, we got a lot of guys coming off losses. Jordan's coming off KO losses to Gabriel Gonzaga and Matt Mitrione. A loss here to Mr. Mack would definitely send him packing. And Mack, on the other hand, is the Lewis, and there's no shame in that. Derek's proven that he is a beast right now. But it was a loss in his debut of the UFC, so he's got a lot to prove. Both these guys hit hard. My thought is really who has the better cardio, who's going to be able to outlast the slugger mentality that these two are going to bring to the table. I don't know why I'm going Jack May right now, but this really, to me, is a toss-up. It's a pick-em. It could go either way. I would not be surprised if we see Sean Jordan knock him out, but for whatever reason, right now I'm going Jack May.
I'm torn between this fight too, because like you already mentioned, they're both coming. Their last three combined fights, they're coming off of knockout losses, but not just knockout losses, but KTFO losses. I mean, Jordan's knockout loss over the last time when he fought Mitrione, that was a brutal knockout, and so was his knockout against Gabriel Gonzaga. And so, in my mind, I'm wondering how much that has affected Jordan being concussed so severely in his past two fights. And I'm really interested to see if he's going to be able to overcome that, or even better, if his chin is going to be able to hold up against what Jack May is going to be throwing at it. Now, granted, we didn't get to see a whole lot of Jack in his debut. He got knocked out fairly quickly, but he is a guy that also has ridiculously stupid power, as does Sean Jordan. I think that this is just going to be one of those really quick, don't get up to go get a drink fights. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to end within the first 2 minutes of the fight with one of these dudes face planted out cold. To me, I'm not even going to make a pick. I think it's a toss-up. I think the first person to land a good, clean punch is going to win the fight. So, and I think it's going to be quick. I think while it lasts, it's going to be exciting, and someone's definitely going to sleep.
Yeah, I have to agree. When you look at their previous history. They either win by TKO or KO, or they lose by TKO and KO. So I certainly don't see anyone pulling out as a submission. I don't think this fight's going to go to decision. I think somebody's getting put to sleep. Uh, it should be an exciting fight. However, like you said, I have to agree 100%. If this fight makes it out of the first round, it's only because they're not throwing punches. If they're throwing punches, it's going to be 2-3 minutes tops. Moving right along, up next, Seth Bashinsky versus Alan Javon. Why don't you start us off, Jason?
You know, this is one of the fights I think that I'm going to go with experience in this one. I think Pazinski, he's been in the big show longer than Allen has. Um, and he's also one, we got another striker versus grappler matchup here. Pazinski, he has a majority of his victories by submission, whereas Yuban, he is a striker. And it's kind of the same thing as the Tavares Peralta fight. If Juban can land his hands on Pazinski, he can probably put him to sleep. But once again, I mean, Bazinski has 27 professional fights. It's 18-9, so he's going to be his 28th fight. He knows what to do in these types of situations. Where Yubani's still fairly relatively new in his career. This is going to be his 12th professional fight. So Bazinski obviously has a huge experience edge going into this, and he knows what it's going to take. He knows he needs to get it down to the ground. The only thing that bothers me is that Bazinski has trouble getting people to the ground. He only is successful in 15% of his takedown attempts. So can he get it to the ground? And that's where, I start to waffle a little bit because I don't know if he can do it. But I think I'm going to go with Yuban on this one because if he can prevent the takedown, which Bazinski has obviously proven he is not the most proficient at dragging the fight to the ground, that he can win the stand-up. And so I'm gonna go with Yuban on this one.
Yvonne certainly could take this fight. Basinski is 1-3 in his last 4, and his victory was over Neil Magny. No offense to Neil, but that's not saying a whole lot. But he has fought some tough guys. He has a victory over Matt Brown. Uh, he lost to Brad Tavares, but the guy's been in there with some tough competitors. Uh, Another one I go back and forth on. I think in my mind, my brain tells me that this is a fight that Seth should win. He's overall the better fighter. He has the experience. He has more ways to win. But something tells me that, Jaban making his UFC debut, he's got a lot to prove. He's done well in RFA. He's looked good. He wants to show the world. Uh, you gotta like a kid like Jaban. But again, I go back and forth. I'm going to take Seth simply based on his experience. He's been there. He's not going to have any kind of octagon jitters or anything to that nature. He knows what it's all about. I like Seth in this fight. All right, fight fans, moving right along. Tim Bosch, Brad Tavares. Uh, Another one of these fights where we have both guys coming off losses. Uh, Brad Tavares had his 5-fight win streak snapped by Yoel Romero. And then obviously everyone knows about Tim Bosch. I don't think we need to say a whole lot about it, but he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. He had 4-fight win streak where he beat Kendall Grove, Nick Green, Yushin Okami, and Hector Lombard, and then basically hasn't done anything since. He beat CB Dalloway, lost to Luke Rockhold, really got humiliated by Rockhold, lost to Munoz and lost to Costa Philippou. So he's got a lot to prove. He's got to prove that, he does belong in the elite discussion of the 185-pound division. Here's the thing. I just don't think he is an elite fighter. I think he got lucky with a couple wins. I think he was able to just control position against Hector. That was an extremely boring fight. I just don't think he's an elite fighter. I think Brad Tavares is going to be able to uh, out agility him. I think he's going to be the quicker, more agile fighter. I think he's going to be able to outwork Bosch, and I like Brad Tavares in this fight.
I'm with you on this one. I think Tavares is going to take this. Um, I've not really been impressed by Tim Bosch as a whole. I think that he got possibly a little bit too much, um, steam put behind him, for lack of a better term, I guess, or hype maybe. Whenever he had that big comeback victory over Yushin Okami, while that was a great victory, I mean, Okami gassed in that final round of that fight, and so I don't take a whole lot of stock in that. And like Josh had mentioned, the fight against Hector Lombard was just Lombard didn't come to fight that fight. That was not Hector Lombard's game. That was a pathetic fight. Whereas with Tavares, he had his fight win streak snapped against Yoel Romero, and there's no disgrace in losing to Yoel. I mean, the dude's a beast. Um, Absolute animal on the ground. I mean, you can't deny that. And so I think that Tavares is going to come into this fight with a big fire lit underneath him, wanting to prove that he does belong in the top 15 in the middleweight division, and that and put that loss to Romero aside and get back on this winning track. I think he has more tools than Tim Bosch does. I think that he can use his youth. He can use his overall better athleticism, his cardio to his advantage, and outwork Tim Bosch over 3 rounds in this fight. I don't think he's going to get a finish. I think he's going to get a decision, but I definitely think that he's going to take this fight.
Well, there you have it. All right, let's move right along. Co-main event. Gray main Boston. Shelky.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
Start us off.
Gray Maynard, he's in an interesting spot, right? Because he only has 17 fights, but when you think about it, it seems like he has so many more fights than that because he's been in so many wars. I mean, you look at his trilogy against Frankie Edgar. You look at the beating that Nate Diaz put on him. You look at the beating TJ Grant put on him. The really only half-assed decent performance he's had in recent memory was his fight against Clay Guida. And let's all be honest, that fight was horrid. It was a pain to watch. And so, I mean, granted, he did have his success early in his career. He did defeat Frankie Edgar in the first fight, but ever since his second fight against Frankie Edgar back at 125, he has not looked like an elite fighter whatsoever. Um, I don't know. He's 35 years old. Maybe the beatings combined with his age is finally catching up with him. Ross Pearson. He's the younger kid, and he looks like he's fought. He hasn't really fought a murderer's row, but he has had some good wins. George Soteropoulos. Everyone thought that he was going to be one of the next big things in the lightweight division with his outstanding submission skills, and he handled him with ease. And granted, he lost a split decision last time around against Diego Sanchez, but there's really no shame in losing to the Nightmare. I mean, the dude is a beast. Um, so I'm going to go with Pierce on this one. I think that, as sad as it is to say, I think Gray Maynard's on the downhill side of his career. And honestly, after he loses Saturday night, I wouldn't be surprised if he found himself in the unemployment line out of the UFC.
Well, I have to say, again, uh, first off, I think Gru's going to lose this fight too. I'll break it down in a second, but yes, after this loss, I think he will be out of the UFC. That'll be 3 straight. It'll be 4 of his last 5. I always thought Gray was overrated. he had yes, he did beat Frank Edgar. He did beat Richard Clemente. He did beat Jim Miller. He did beat Roger Huerta, and somehow he got the split decision victory over Nate Diaz. Uh, I don't know. All he ever did was just hold guys down. I never thought he was an elite fighter. Again, when he fought Kenny Florian, that fight was terrible. Kenny was afraid to fight, and Gray didn't want to do anything. Eventually, just took Kenny down and held him there. Uh, then he got knocked out by Frankie in their second fight. Yes, got the split decision over Clay Guida, but again, I didn't think he looked that good in the fight. Got his ass whooped by T.J. Grant. Got his ass whooped by uh, Nate Diaz. I don't think Gray Maynard has a chance. I think Ross Perry, well, not yet. I think Wentz Pearson, he's going to be wobbling, doing the drunken stumble like he always does. Uh, I don't think this fight will be that long. I look for Ross Pearson to finish it in the first round. Uh, Gray needs to retire. His chin is gone. He doesn't have it anymore. Uh, I don't know why he thinks he can stand and bang with people. He can't. He's I don't know what else to say. Ross Pearson. Moving right along. Seriously, I don't even know what else to say on that. So we'll move right along to the main event. Ryan Bader versus OSP. In my mind, this is a must-win fight for Ryan Bader. If he loses this fight, he's never going to be able to climb back up the mountain in the light heavyweight division. I think he's too big to make 185 pounds. So unless he wanted to put on some extra weight and try and fight at heavyweight, I don't know what he does if he loses this fight. OSP, on the other hand, if he loses this fight, it's not that big of a deal. He can, work himself back up to the top. The reason why it's a bigger issue for Bader is he's already been up to the top and knocked all the way back down, and he's climbing back up for the second time. So uh, if he loses this fight, I don't know what, I don't know where his career goes from there. Now let's talk OSP. This guy, I love, his only loss in his last. Hold on, I want to make sure I get this right, so I have to count them up. So his only loss in his last 14 fights is to Gegard Mousasi at in Strikeforce at Melendez versus Masvidal. Uh, that was back December 17th, 2011. He is currently on a 5-fight win streak, and he has looked good. Basically, finishing every opponent that he's faced in that time. And I have to be honest, I don't think Ryan Bader is going to be any different. I do like Bader. I think, he's starting to put everything together, but I don't think he's going to be able to just take OSP down and hold him there and occasionally throw out some ground and pound. I think he's going to actually have to fight OSP, and Bader's proven when he has to actually fight somebody and earn those takedowns and that kind of stuff, he struggles, he wilts, and I think this is going to be the same thing. I look for OSP to be able to stuff his takedowns and outwork him on the feet, and I don't know that I don't know that OSP will finish Bader, but he's definitely getting the victory.
Yeah, I think OSP is going to take this fight running away. When you look at Bader's whole career as a whole, yeah, he's had a lot of wins within the UFC, but when you look at the people that he's lost against, I mean, he's lost against, John Jones. Well, no shame in that. I mean, everybody that John Jones has fought has lost to him except for, I don't know, Matt Hamill.
Matt Hamill?
Yeah, whatever. But I
The
mean, if you look,
Hammer?
yeah, the hammer, and he lost by getting hammered. Go figure. But I mean, every time he stepped up in competition, he's looked terrible. I mean, he lost to Jones. Okay, no shame in that. He lost to Tito Ortiz. A lot of shame in that. He lost to Leo Machida. And he's lost to Glover Teixeira. The best fighter he has beat is an over-the-hill, undertrained, overweight, fat Quentin Jackson. It's the only fight that, of any significance that he's won. I mean, you could argue the win over Little Nog maybe somewhat, but shit, I mean, Little Nog fights like once every 3.5 years, so I really don't put a lot of stock into that. And so, but with OSP, I mean, he's continually moving up and up the ladder, and he's looking good while he's doing it. And so I think that OSP, I think he's coming into his own. I mean, we've seen him, been following him back in Strikeforce days. Unfortunately, he knocked out our colleague, one of our colleagues' best friends, Antoine Britt. I believe it was his Strikeforce debut. And, with his only loss, Gegard Mousasi, no shame in that. Mousasi, I mean, when he wants to be, he is a tremendous fighter. I have a hard time seeing Saint Preux losing this fight with as good as he's been looking lately, with his knockouts over T.J. Cook, with his knockout over Cody Donovan, his submission over Nikita Krylov, his TKO over Ryan Jimmo, who had a lot of hype whenever he came over from the NFC. And he's made them all look easy. So I think that OSP, I think this is going to be the beginning of his uphill climb up the ladder in the division, and I'm looking for him to win this fight in impressive fashion. I think he's going to be able to score the knockout, probably later in the fight towards the second, third round.
I like Ryan Bader. He's a decent guy. He's always been good to the side. Here's the thing. He's a B-level fighter. No disrespect. He was able to win the show with his wrestling and that kind of stuff. But he has not evolved as a fighter. His striking hasn't evolved. He still has the same wrestling that he always has. He started off his career 12-0. He has since gone 3-4. He's 3-4 in his last 7 fights, and his victories are over against Rafael Cavalcante, Anthony Perosh, and a very old Vladimir Matyushenko. And I love Vladimir. I always thought that Matyushenko was one of the most underrated fighters of his time. But no offense, none of those guys are quality. I mean, those aren't bringing you back up the ladder. And so I don't know. In my mind, this does not look good for Ryan Bader. I understand, hey, I take this fight, I get a victory over OSP, I get to steal everything that he's done. The problem is, right now, OSP is better. And I think come Saturday night, OSP is going to prove it. All right. Shelky, final thoughts on the card.
I'm really looking for OSP to make his stand out. I think this is going to be his big statement fight. I think he needs to put a stamp on Ryan Bader to solidify himself in the light heavyweight division. I think we're going to possibly see Gray Maynard in the octagon for the last time. But overall, I mean, we're going to have a 6-fight main card. They may not be, fights that have a lot of relevance in their division, but there are a lot of good fights on this main card. And be sure for all your action, be sure to check out the MMAcorner.com and follow us on Twitter at the MMA Corner, where we'll be giving you up to minute by minute, play by play highlights, random musings, all that good stuff. If you're not following us, do it now.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. If you're not following us, you probably should do so. This card, UFC Fight Night 47, again, it's a free card on Fox. You got to love it. Is it, the best card of the year? Absolutely not. But when you think about what it was supposed to be, again, had the UFC not had to cancel their pay-per-view, leading into their 2 event next week, and then into the upcoming pay-per-view, this is perfect. This is exactly the card that the UFC wants, and it does have a lot of meaning. Are any of these winners getting title shots? No. But careers are on the line. Placements in divisions are on the line. I mean, if OSP gets this victory over Ryan Bader, is he getting a title shot? No, but he is going to get a top 5 guy. He's going to be able to start working his way into title contention. Same thing for Bader. If he gets this victory over OSP, again, the UFC is going to allow him the opportunity to work back into the title mix. So there is a lot on the line in this card. There are going to be some exciting fights. It will be the swan song for Gray Maynard, so definitely check it out. Immediately following UFC Fight Night 47. We will be back live to give you our thoughts, our breakdowns, our, I don't know, musings, if you will, related to all of the action that happened that night. We will be back Sunday with the new show. Make sure you check that out. It'll be 12 p.m. Midwest time, Mountain time, 2 o'clock on the East Coast, 11 a.m. if you're on the West Coast. And then next week we will be giving you our breakdowns for both UFC events. So a lot of stuff coming your way, a lot of content coming your way. Again, immediately following the fights, if for whatever reason you missed them, go to the MMAcorner.com. We will have all of the videos for you. We have you covered in every way possible. Until then, definitely check out the MMAcorner.com, your home for all things MMA. A lot of great stuff up there for this upcoming event. I do want to thank our sponsors again. Battle Bomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power. BattleBomb.com. Definitely check them out. Soul provides us the best audio out there. Power, clarity, comfort. Soul Electronics get you some. I love these things. For Jason Shelkey, I'm Josh Davis. Keep living the MMA Corner lifestyle. Peace.